From the outside, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni looked like two stars bringing a best-selling love story to life. But behind the scenes, something far more explosive was unfolding, something that neither studio executives nor fans ever imagined. What started as quiet tension during the filming of It Ends With Us has now erupted into one of Hollywood's most heated legal battles, with Blake accusing Baldoni of creating an environment so hostile and unbalanced that she had no choice but to take everything to court. And just when it seemed like the controversy might settle, Blake's latest filing didn't just reopen the fight, it pulled back the curtain even further, revealing new claims, deeper conflicts, and hidden power struggles that paint a very different picture of what was happening on set. But even this dramatic reveal is only the beginning, because the details buried inside those heavily redacted documents raise far bigger questions about control, influence, and the lengths someone might go to shape the narrative in their favor. The legal fight between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni didn't begin with a quiet disagreement. It burst into the spotlight the moment Blake filed a sweeping lawsuit outlining a series of claims that immediately sent shockwaves through the industry. Her filing wasn't small or symbolic. It laid out accusations ranging from inappropriate behavior on set to retaliation, emotional distress, and even financial harm that she says disrupted her ability to do her job. Instead of addressing those allegations directly, Baldoni moved swiftly in the opposite direction, asking the court to shut the entire case down before it could even begin. But Blake's response made it clear she had no intention of being silenced. In her latest court submission, she insisted that these issues demand a public hearing, not a dismissal, arguing that the circumstances surrounding the production were far more serious than anyone knew at the time. The intensity of her pushback signaled something crucial. This wasn't just a dispute over creative differences or behind-the-scenes tension. It was the first sign that the conflict had been brewing long before lawyers ever got involved, hinting at deeper problems that would soon come spilling out into the open. Blake's newest filing didn't just challenge Baldoni's dismissal request. It accused him of using a strategy designed to overwhelm and discredit her at every turn. Her legal team described his approach as throwing the kitchen sink, meaning he launched as many counterclaims and arguments as possible in hopes of burying her accusations under sheer volume. They even referenced a manipulation tactic known as DARVO, where someone denies wrongdoing, attacks the accuser, and then flips the narrative to cast themselves as the victim. According to Blake's attorneys, this wasn't just happening in the courtroom. It was happening publicly too, through carefully shaped narratives meant to portray her as unreasonable or controlling. This allegation added a psychological layer to the conflict, hinting that the real struggle went far beyond legal filings and touched on how each of them wanted the world to see what actually happened on set. But the deeper they went into these claims, the more it became clear that the fight was about power, perception, and who would control the story moving forward. Blake's filing didn't stop at calling out Baldoni's legal tactics. It went further, accusing him of launching a full-scale narrative war designed to reshape how the public viewed their time on set. Her attorneys claimed that instead of engaging with her concerns directly, Baldoni and his team allegedly pushed stories that painted her as a demanding bully who tried to take over the film, a portrayal Blake insists could not be further from the truth. According to her side, this wasn't a simple misunderstanding or a clash of creative opinions. It was a deliberate attempt to shift blame by targeting her reputation, even as she said she had been fighting for a safe, respectful working environment. And with Blake being an actress with decades of experience and a public figure known for professionalism, her camp argued that portraying her as the problem served one purpose: to distract from what she says was a production environment controlled entirely by Baldoni, who held the authority, the influence, and the final say on everything happening on set. As rumors started circulating about tension behind the scenes, industry watchers began wondering whether the friction went deeper than anyone realized. And according to Blake's team, this campaign wasn't an isolated moment. It was part of a larger pattern that shaped how the entire story unfolded. Blake's filing also highlighted what she described as a serious imbalance of power on set, arguing that Baldoni's role as director and producer gave him complete control over her working environment. According to her team, this dynamic didn't just create discomfort. It affected the film itself, especially the chemistry between the two leads, which is central to the story they were telling. The filing suggested that Blake spent significant time reporting issues and trying to resolve behavior she believed was interfering with her ability to perform, a claim that immediately raised questions about what was happening when cameras weren't rolling. Industry chatter at the time hinted that something felt off during production, with some observers noting subtle tension long before the public saw any signs of a feud. While none of those rumors were confirmed, they added fuel to the idea that the behind-the-scenes environment may have been far more strained than anyone outside the set realized. And if Blake's version of events is accurate, the problems weren't just personal. They were structural, rooted in who held the power and how it was used. The dispute escalated long before the lawsuits became public headlines, and Blake's filing lays out a timeline that shows just how tangled this legal battle has become. It started in late 2024, when she quietly submitted a complaint to the California Civil Rights Department, signaling that the issues on set were serious enough to involve state authorities. That initial step was followed weeks later by her formal lawsuit seeking more than $160 million in damages, a move that immediately put immense pressure on everyone involved. Baldoni responded by launching his own countersuit for $400 million, claiming her accusations damaged his reputation and career, a staggering number that caught the industry's attention instantly. But in a surprising turn, his case was tossed out over the summer, officially closed after he missed the deadline to amend the filing for a potential appeal. Rumors began swirling about whether the lawsuit lacked foundation or whether his legal strategy had simply backfired. Meanwhile, Blake's case continued moving forward, with her team arguing that his ongoing public criticism of her only reinforced the environment she had been trying to report. By the time Baldoni returned to court asking for her lawsuit to be dismissed entirely, the conflict had shifted from a dispute about the past to a battle over whose version of events would survive in the public record. Long before the legal filings surfaced, fans were already sensing something unusual between Blake and Baldoni. When It Ends With Us premiered, their separate promotion efforts immediately sparked online speculation. As the film's romantic leads, they were expected to appear side by side, yet their distance became one of the biggest talking points of the press tour. Viewers began questioning whether tension from the set had carried into the public spotlight, and social media filled with theories about what might have gone wrong during production. While nothing was confirmed at the time, the contrast between their on-screen relationship and their off-screen separation only made the rumors grow louder. Blake's later filings gave those early suspicions new weight, suggesting that the friction wasn't a product of the press tour at all. It had been building quietly throughout filming, long before the public ever noticed. And once the feud became official through court documents, those earlier moments suddenly looked far less mysterious. By the time November arrived, the conflict had reached a point where neither side was willing to back down, and Baldoni made a bold move to regain control of the narrative. He filed a request asking the court to dismiss Blake's $161 million lawsuit entirely, arguing that no reasonable jury would find him responsible for any of the behavior she described. It was a direct attempt to end the case before it could reach a full trial, a step that underscored just how high the stakes had become for both of them. But Blake's response made it clear that this fight was nowhere near over. Her latest filing insisted that the evidence, the pattern of behavior, and the impact on her ability to work all pointed to a situation that demanded to be heard by a jury, not swept aside on a technicality. To her team, Baldoni's attempt to shut the case down wasn't just premature. It was another example of him trying to control the outcome instead of confronting what she says actually happened on set. This back and forth not only intensified the legal pressure, but also deepened the public fascination, turning what started as quiet, on-set tension into a full-scale battle over accountability, power, and whose version of events would ultimately prevail. As the filings continued piling up, the situation began shifting from a single dispute to something much larger, a conversation about how power operates in Hollywood and what happens when a star challenges the person running the show. Blake's allegations raised questions that extended far beyond one film, touching on how workplaces handle complaints, how narratives are shaped behind the scenes, and how difficult it can be for someone to speak out when the person they're accusing holds all the authority. Industry insiders have been split, with some quietly defending Baldoni and others suggesting Blake's decision to step forward reflects frustrations that may have been bubbling beneath the surface for much longer than anyone realized. And although many details remain hidden behind heavy redactions, The filings hint at a deeper struggle over who gets protected, who gets believed, and how much influence a single director can have over the careers and reputations of the people working under him. What's clear is that this case has grown into a spotlight moment for both of them, with every new document adding another layer to a story that still doesn't have an ending, and the absence of a definitive resolution has only fueled more speculation about what else might be revealed if the case finally reaches a courtroom. In the end, the clash between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has become far more than a dispute about a troubled film set. It has evolved into a high-stakes showdown filled with conflicting narratives, unanswered questions, and allegations that cut straight into the heart of how Hollywood handles power and accountability. Blake argues that the only path forward is a public trial where every detail can be examined, while Baldoni insists the case has no foundation and should never reach a jury at all. With millions of dollars, reputations, and careers hanging in the balance, each filing has added new layers of tension, revealing just enough to spark controversy while keeping the most explosive details concealed behind redactions. And that secrecy is exactly what keeps the public watching, waiting for the moment when those hidden pages might finally see the light of day. Because if this battle ever does move into a courtroom, the revelations inside could reshape everything the industry thought it knew about their working relationship. Until then, both sides remain locked in a struggle for control over the truth, leaving everyone else wondering what the next chapter of this unfolding drama will reveal.